you dancing? That's very African, right? Very, very African, no doubt about it. Well, let's talk about proud African roots. Whether they are connected or not, you hear from these two people who will be talking to us now. But just to let you know that Proud African Roots is a leading creative arts company in Lagos, Nigeria, dedicated to producing world-class content for children and families. It celebrates African heritage through theater, music, storytelling, and multimedia, fostering leadership values and cultural pride. Two people are here with me this morning. Bolanle Edwards is co-founder, Proud African Roots. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
As well as Patrick Edwards, also co-founder, Proud African Roots.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
No cheating. But ladies first, so let me start with you, madam. So tell us a bit about the origin story for Proudly African Roots.
Okay, so this is always my favorite part. So, you know, what our forefathers did back in the days with storytelling, it was part of our culture that we probably have begun to lose right now. And so with storytelling, they were very intentional. It's also because they wanted to just while away time and all of that. They told stories, they gave proverbs, there was music, there was arts, there was dancing. And that was because they were intentional about how they wanted the community to be, the sanity, the mental health. And there was a particular way they wanted the children to grow up. And so whatever values they wanted to inculcate into a child, they put it in a story, they put it in a song. And that's basically what has inspired what we do today, trying to bring the values back to the children, back to society. And so we're doing that with storytelling. And we're doing that as well with a character, a grandmother character, who is like a merge between the old and the new, the future. So it's Grandma Wura. She's trying to preserve the African culture that we've always had with our ancestors and everything with regards to storytelling and inculcating values into the children. And she's doing it with music, she's doing it with art, and she's colorful. The children today can relate with her and all of that. So yes.
Interestingly, the grammar of the future will be iPad tapping grammars.
Absolutely.
Right, Mr. Patrick?
Yeah.
As an African, children and teen content producers, how does your work contribute to the development of the nation?
Well, content is very key, mostly when you talk about imputing certain values. Using a case study like Sesame Street. Sesame Street really played a huge part in the Black society in America. And to us here, we found that visuals plays a very big role to children's and child's development in their way of reasoning and so many other things too. And as African content producer, we thought it's necessary to really begin to focus on these areas. One thing about us is that we are using the art as an alternative form to educate children about leadership. But at the same time, for you to engage these children, you have to realize that they have a very short attention span. And we are deliberate in bringing up certain values like integrity, teamwork, which will make every child be relevant in a workspace. And putting that in different content that we are creating. And of course, we know that, in the next 10 years, every 10-year-old will be 20. And you know that Africa, Nigeria to be specific, has the youngest demography in the world. That's a workforce. That is something that we should take as a challenge. We should be deliberate about to start imputing values, skills into these children that will make them relevant.
How did we lose that? I mean, from what Mrs. Edwards said here, we had it, and we had it strong.
Yeah.
So how did we lose it? What did we stop doing?
I think the opening up to allowing things coming into our space had a way of downgrading certain salient values that made us stand out as a family. You know, imputing on too much, for with all due respect, bringing too many foreign content into our local space had a way of just downplaying or I mean, taking certain things that used to be paramount in our lives and just trivializing it. For example, family time. Check out, we used to have children's belts. It was something that was respected by every different media, you know, but along the line, I think trying to be too Western, with all due respect, kind of made us feel that our localness was no longer relevant. But in actual sense, that was what made us who we are as Africans. And trying to impute that, bring it to the children. Now they've been so many things have gone in through their head. That right now, when you talk about culture, they look at localness. What is localness? But you know, one of the things we are deliberate is cultural confidence. Because when they are out there, they will begin to, it comes to their face that you're African. There's nothing you can do about it. But we want to start changing the narratives. How do you see yourself as an African?
Yeah.
You know, and these are the things that we are deliberating. And we are calling on different organizations and persons to see, let's make this deliberate.
You know, it was interesting in all you said now, Mr. Edwards, is when you go outside this country, you're in somebody else's culture, like you don't know. But, you know, madam, share your thoughts on the current state and availability of local content for children.
Okay, so we have a few people there. There's a handful of media children's content producers right now, and those who seem to be there are doing a great work. We have animators who are doing amazing work. When you see their illustrations, their animation, it's amazing. You can't even believe those works were produced right here in the country, and it's been quite a challenge, right? But it's been beautiful to have a foundation like that of MasterCard Foundation and in partnership with CC Hub coming into a space like this to say, you know what, we want to enable you, we want to empower you, and we're giving you everything that you've got. We're going to back you up to do this. That has made the work really, really easy. I mean, in comparison to what we had in the past.
Perhaps one of the challenges there is the viability and sustainability.
Yes.
I remember Animal Farm. I grew up on Animal Farm. It's not Sesame Street. It's not Sesame Street. And I grew up on Tales by Moonlight.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't know about you.
I grew up on all of them.
Good. Now, so it's not that we didn't have it. And as we had them in English language, so did we have them even in local languages for stations who, whose primary was local languages. So that's the background of that, the question. So what are the challenges those faced? And what are the challenges that this current wave that you are talking about, what are the challenges that it also faces? Okay, so
Tales by Moonlight is dear to me. Those are the things I grew up on. I remember sitting with my father, with my mom, and, we would sit as a family and we would enjoy, and they would discuss afterwards. Like what you said, some of the challenges as well economically, parents are so busy. Things are all, and so they're not having that enough time. That is why we're also here to also help the families as well. And talking about, you can't put a child in front of the Tales by Moonlight you watched back then, right now. You can't do that because their appetite has increased. They're used to the
appetite is more sophisticated.
Yeah. Yes, very, very sophisticated. And so as a result of that, it's quite expensive producing children's content. And children, it's either they like it or they don't like it, and they will tell you they don't like it. So you need to do your research. You need to make sure that everything, all the elements you need to make it what they would, the look and feel and all of that. You have to make sure you can actually produce that kind of work while also being intentional about what you're trying to teach the child through the content.
Interesting, because I tell my children, you have to give me a reason for watching it. You have to convince me that there is value. I asked my two of them were sitting, little kids under 10, and I asked one of them, "What are you learning? What you're watching?" And the other one said, "Nothing." I just moved on. And so some of them really do know.
Yes.
But the challenge there is the content that we produce today, we have to literally take it to them at home. Now, it is through these digital devices.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw that video of children. They gave them, they've been used to using the tabs and digital phones and all. And so they now said, okay, they wanted to take it away from them. And it became civil war. Now, so as she said, the challenge of the olden days is that of time. You can't give that the content that we still hold very dear to those children of today. You can't give them Atom Ants. You can't give them Captain Gadget. You can't give them, I don't know how Tom and Jerry has survived. So now, all of it will come on digital devices. At the same time, we have to be sure that we are not giving them things that they'll be hooked on. And so on the one hand is you want to teach, on the other hand is you don't want addiction.
Yes.
Balance, please.
So for every parent, they are worried about screen time for their children. And you know, there's a way too much screen time can affect the child's mental health. So a parent wants to be sure that if my child is online, he's safe there. So for us as a company, through the help of MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub, we're creating something very unique. We're creating an app that is going to engage the child, mostly in the area of the arts. And at the same time, they do it with their parents together. This has a way of creating interaction. It has a way of also making the child and the parent engage in such process. And it also has a way of ensuring that the content is being secured. Of course, the way we are doing it in the way we're still working on it is an app, Grammarura's Hub, to teach the children in the area of acting, professional acting, cooking, crafts, simplified in a way that the child would understand. Now that is bringing value. So it's rest assured that the parent that you don't need to be afraid. And of course, it's engaging whereby it is the child and the parent that are going to be doing those learnings together. And you know, you just want to be sure that your child is not being taken advantage. And at the same time, we're also working on offline. So there's a curriculum we're doing, it's going to be online and offline, so that the child doesn't just get addicted to only online. There needs to be some physical engagement. And this is what I always tell parents. You don't need too many expensive things. It's not just taking your children out there. Sit them down and tell them a story about your childhood. Make it deliberate. It will amaze you when you sit your child and you tell them, this is what I went through when I was young. I climbed a tree. And while I was climbing the tree, all this will begin to make them have conversations, because in the long run, the only thing the child can hold about their family or his or her family are memories. And you cannot create memories just with the child going into the devices and all. It's going to be a challenge, but you just have to look for how to make that work. Engage them without these devices once in a while. Sit them down, tell them things that will make them think about your experience. Of course, you as a gentleman, you know when you went through growing up. Tell them, put that in a story form. do that. I remember myself and my wife, we used to do that, my partner too, at the same time. On Fridays, we have Friday movie nights, buy popcorn, sit down together, and we choose something to watch, or we discuss, or we tell stories. Of course, add some dramatic things to that. And the kids now, they are teenagers, and they said, Daddy, those were one of our most wonderful times together that we were together. So, as a parent, you have to create that dynamics for your own home.
Absolutely.
Because very soon, the 10-year-old in the next 10 years will become an adult. And they will believe once they start going to university, don't think you can call them back again. That's just telling you this is a new phase. So you have to be deliberate about what you... I just think that as parents, we need to play our role in this regard.
Yeah.
You know, madam, what he's just said now is, and I'd like you to be honest. As we said earlier, the taste buds of today's kids, I don't know how it developed. I don't know who gave it to them. Whatever we had was whatever we were given was what we had.
Absolutely.
Today, they can search out anything.
Absolutely.
You give a child a device, say, good. Let me see how you will mess it up. Let me see how you will use it. Before you know what is happening, the child has opened it, has gone to the corners that even you who bought it with whatever million naira, you have no idea.
Yeah.
So, parents, you said it the other time, don't have much time. But this is a must-do for them. How do you think that the parents, because at the end of the day, all of these is about getting people interested and hooked on this thing with their kids. What would you recommend for parents about this, creating this family time? Because from what I'm hearing from both of you, this project will be best achieved with parents working with their children. So help people understand how to manage this in a way that they can do it together, even though they don't seem to have much time.
So one of the things that we have done as well with children, not just our children, but other children that have been a part of what we do in Proud Africa Roots, is we get them engaged. We give them assignments. We get them to, okay, you've learned this much. Okay, fine, or this little. Let me see how you express yourself in that area. And so it's important for us on the app, even if the parent might not be expected to stay all through with the app, but there are certain elements in the app and features in the app whereby parents can be told this is the progress of your child, given progress reports on how the child is doing in different aspects of the hub, because this child is in the hub and learning handcrafts, learning how to cook, learning how to act, and they're not just doing that, it's like a mirror. They are seeing themselves in other children who also are involved in the productions that we're doing right now. However, these other aspects whereby the parents must still have that physical engagement with the children. You have to plan it, you have to make time for it, the way you plan for other things. This is a must. You must plan for it. However, the app is there to help you, to make it easy. But there's still that aspect that involves you being involved, yes.
Wait, before we... Why grandma?
I love that you asked. So, every home has a grandmother.
Yes.
And it represents heritage. It represents culture. As I'm speaking to you now, just think about your grandmother. So many things comes into your memory. Things, how they utilize little resources and they fed the whole neighborhood, how they took every child as their own, how they were stern in the certain decision making, and at the same time they were able to teach you certain values. To some of us then that were very naughty, grandma was the reset button that will reset your life, But at the same time, those values from grandmothers are so strong. So we just looked at what can we do that we give these parents the assurance and confidence that whatever content we are bringing is going to make sense and at the same time that can interact with the children and make them feel safe. So we had to create a grandmother character. A whole lot of research went into it. We had to work with certain professionals outside the country and within the country. For example, we had to work with a professional voice
Voice
coach to teach how the grandma can talk like a grandmother. A lot of research, and at one point I was saying, why are we spending this amount of funds just to create a grandmother? But it now started making sense, because anywhere Grandma Wura goes, it's very igniting.
Nostalgic. Yeah.
And because we want us to use that to represent our culture. Our future is our culture. Our culture is our future.
You know, I said something the other time. The grandma of the future is iPad touching, smartphone. The grandma of the future is the TikTok generation.
Exactly. We're going to meet them there.
So, I'm talking the grandma of the future.
So Grandma Wura, for example, Grandma Wura can dance break dance. She can dance the cultural dance.
That one is not a grandma.
Yeah.
So at the same time, she is very stern when she's making a decision. For example, we were very big in the theater space, so we'll be doing theater, a lot of shows in Terra Culture where Grandma Wura comes with a whole crew, about 100, to do a story, simple story, but the way she tells it and takes you back with the songs and everything, it just cuts across that this grandma, you want to hear Grandma Wura, of course, with her costumes and all, just a way to preserve our heritage.
Okay. I hope I don't mean Grandma Wura in the market. Now, madam, back to you. Is there a role for government in all of this? Because, okay, well, let me just ask it straight. Is there a role for, well, maybe there is a role, but the question will now be how, and do you see it happening? We've heard that part of the ways in which the United States of America, for instance, has preserved itself and continues to foster itself on people is through Hollywood, storytelling, instrument and all.
Absolutely.
So do you see it as something that can, should, or will happen in our country?
Oh, yes. Like you said, Hollywood, government, they made that happen. They gave the platform and all of that. They gave the opportunities, and yes, so that can work. And like Patrick rightly said initially when we started the discussion, and he said, this is an alternative form of education. So it's not just entertainment, it's actually education for economic development and prosperity. Because by the time you train the new generation of workforce and equip them with the right values, you have just made economic prosperity attainable on a deeper and higher level. And so the government being a part of this, because it's also something that can be part of the educational curriculum, is very important to us. While we also need, everything is not just on the government alone. We need partners. We need private partners from the private sector. We've had that experience in the past, and we still welcome more of these partners, NGOs, and of course, what MasterCard is doing, MasterCard Foundation is doing in partnership with the CC Hub is also part of all of this partnerships.
Is there a website?
Oh, www.proudafricanroots.com.
www.proudafricanroots.com.
Yes, roots with a S. S
Okay,
for
that's
sugar.
it on the screen.
Yes.
If you don't want to tap the www, you're not sure how many there are, just go to proudafricanroots.com.
Yeah.
Right? And it will still take you there. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you so much.
Ola Edwards is co-founder, Proud African Roots, as well as Patrick Edwards.
Thank you very much.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you for
having us.
All the best all the time.
Thank you very much.
All right. Part of what we heard in this conversation is that Proud African Roots, through this Grandma's Hub, is talking also about leadership. That's part of our next conversation.